consistently, the better we'll be able to close out games and finish those things when we have those opportunities.
Coach, how much? Can you give us a breakdown of who's competing at the nickel spot? I'm sorry for that.
No, it's a lot of guys, and every guy we're trying to train on multiple positions. So it's not just like this one guy, but you have some young guys, but from an older guy perspective, Prophet Brown has been a position of versatility for us last year. He'll continue to be that. There's some of the good guys we got on the roster, in particular, some of the young guys have done a really good job. From Alex Graham, James Johnson, Long Streets, Benny there. We got a couple safeties that pop in at times, and we have some corners that we train. So we want to train every player at two positions. So we have position versatility. When we get into sub-packages and whatever comes in, and we decide as a defensive staff. So it's kind of by committee right now. That's one position that we have to kind of solidify as we move forward. But we feel good about the transition that we're making.
I know you're really high on D. Reddick, first-year guy, so we'll see what happens. Just what's impressive to you about him?
He loves football, at a different level. He's a high-level competitor, and he's such a good person. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here at a place like USC, and coming from Georgia to in the state of California. I think he's just embracing everything right now. He's so celebrating. So it'd be good to see him get out here and compete with some of our other guys because he was not here in the spring. He just enrolled this summer, so we're still learning. And he's really excited for the opportunity.
Coach, how much more is on the menu when you have a defensive line that can get home with four for you guys on the back end?
Yeah, it opens up a lot. One, from a run fit perspective. And if you look at, some of the guys, I thought we improved tremendously on tackling last year, and we still have a ways to go. But some of the plays that Jalen and Kamari and Achille and Greedy Vance and Jacoby Covington made on the perimeter, we may not be making some of those plays, right? And then the other thing is it comes down to pass coverage. Ultimately, we got to keep the ball out of the deep part of the field and be able to, run and hit and be competitive in the deep part of the field. And I think the best thing for that is a good pass rush and it affecting the quarterback. And sometimes it's not always about sacking the quarterback or hitting the quarterback as much as it is affecting the quarterback. So the more that up front in the front seven that that we're able to affect the quarterback, it definitely makes our job easier. It all starts up front for every football team. And Coach Henderson, Coach Newell, and Coach Scott, along with our recruiting staff, done a tremendous job of adding depth and talent, within the trenches. So I think it'll help us tremendously, especially when you get into obvious passing situations where you need to affect the quarterback and allows you to maximize coverage and do a little bit more in the back end. So I'm excited, to see how we can put it all together.
What's the most important thing you're looking for in that nickel position? You said it's a very crowded and competitive position. What is the one thing above all, besides consistency, probably, that you want?
Yeah, when we recruit in the secondary, we want guys with versatility. So you may see guys that play corner, play nickel, play safety. They can play nickel, but the biggest thing is you have to have the ability to play man-to-man, have to have the ability to play zone, and ultimately you have to be a really good tackler because you could be in run-fix situations where you're fitting inside of the box. If not, the ball's going to be on the perimeter a lot, and you have to be able to address those blocks. So somebody that has speed and athleticism, but also has enough physicality to take on blocks and tackle the ball on the perimeter. We had previous relationship with Jason, but man, what he was able to do as a freshman, he loves ball. He's an ultimate competitor. And obviously his skill set for playing the position is great, but it's more about his mental makeup, the type of kid he is. He's overcome a lot to be here, and so we want to support him in all those things. But from the day that he got here, it seemed like he had been on the team for a year already. Just a very infectious personality, works his butt off every day. So I think it didn't take long for the players on our team to really see his mentality, the work ethic that he has, and obviously how good of a guy he is. And he's investing in our young players. He's leading and doing everything right. So we're really excited to have him. In Kennedy, we had a lot of experience at safety last year. We added Bishop. Really excited about Christian Pierce. And then after that, we really don't have a lot of guys with playing experience, but we like all of our young guys and, highly competitive there. So he just provides an extra layer of a guy who's ready to come in and play. Tremendous skill set, twitchy, athletic, explosive, really physical. So we're excited about, the traits, but as a football player, very, very intelligent, loves football, a lot like, Kamari, where he's very quiet, reserved, and then when he plays, he has another switch. So he had experience playing as a freshman at Notre Dame last year. So I'm looking forward to seeing him this training camp fit into the scheme. All the players love him as well. Good person, great energy. But he's a football guy, and I think he's going to be one of those guys, a lot like Christian, that plays physical. That it'll be fun to watch him play. And then you kind of tear into there with some of the young guys like, Gallegos and Isaiah Rubin, and then obviously the freshmen that we've added that can play a lot of positions and do a lot of things well.
Obviously, there's
How big was Chad's endorsement when it came to Kennedy and bringing him in and obviously having some familiarity with him?
Yeah, I think obviously it helps when you know somebody and create some comfortability, but it was really just us diving into football. He wasn't really into all of the glitz and glam or all of the, fancy restaurants and seeing LA. He wanted to spend his time on football. So as a coach, for me personally, who coaches him, that's the most intriguing thing that you get on a visit when somebody's like, "Coach, I'm good. I don't want to photo shoot. I don't want to do anything. Let's just talk ball." So we spent his whole visit outside of eating dinner and him resting on ball, and I think, he's the right fit. From a coach's perspective, we're always looking for guys who fit what we want to do, and in our system, we want smart, intelligent players that play, safety and nickel and even corner, and so he fit that mold with me and Coach Lynn, and then I think it was a good fit for him, being back on the West Coast and having an opportunity to come in and contribute immediately with something, that we wanted to get from him and that he wanted from us. So it's been awesome to have a chance to be around him so far.